or the record that you really like comes from a previously created song. Maybe jazz, maybe funk, maybe R&B, maybe blues, but it's something from our history, and I think oftentimes we're not aware of that. And since we're not aware of it, a lot of folks use that ignorance against us. It's a very interesting point. Right now, there's a guy by the name of Ninth Wonder, who's a producer, and he's at Harvard University right now as a Harvard Fellow. And the thing that he's working on is a digital, what he's calling a digital Dropbox, wherein if you click on a hip hop record, there a box will come up and it will have the album labels, album covers for all the samples in that record.
Wow.
So you could then click on it, and then you could click and you could play it, and so you could see, that from Otis you get this from the original Otis Redding, and then you would even find this jazz riff that's used in there, and all the records that were used to construct the song would be in this digital Dropbox, and you could click on them and play them, and then it would tell you like where the sample is used in the song. So that kind of stuff is necessary because we just forget, and particularly as young people always think that their stuff is most important, is new, yeah. And so particularly for young people, I think it's necessary to kind of reach back and let them know. But at the HBCU, like at the predominantly white institutions as well, jazz is just not something that is connected to contemporary music and art, and I think that's a problem.
Do you have any way that we could maybe stop this problem or make it lower or anything like that?
Yeah, I think diminishing that is clearly possible. Just like anything else, education is the key. Mm-hmm. The more you learn about yourself, the more you learn about your community, the more you learn about your society. So I think that musically, the more we learn about what previous generations of black artists did, easier for us to understand contemporary black artists, and then perhaps even produce better music. Better being in better quality, mm-hmm. Better sound, more musical. And I think that if a lot of contemporary hip hop producers really knew jazz music, or really knew blues, or really knew R&B, or really knew funk, that they would be able to create even more unique sounds, even more interesting music. So I think that knowledge is important, and I think it's happening. I spent a weekend with this cat named Lil J Chophouse, who's a 20-something-year-old producer, mm-hmm. and we talked for 30 minutes about Charlie Parker. And just he found some Parker horn riffs that he's using in some of his music, and was just engaging about Charlie Parker, and didn't know anything about him but heard the riff, mm-hmm. and then started investigating who it is. And I think that's what happens a lot of times, particularly with the producers. They'll hear a sound or a guitar lick or a piano riff, and they'll like it. Then they'll go find a record that it's on, and then they'll find the person that actually produced it, and then they know a little bit more about early black music. And I think nowadays that's something that happens more frequently, particularly because of the computer. Now you can Google search an artist's name, and something will come up. You go to Wikipedia, the discography will come up, and then you kind of get a better understanding. There's sample.com, which is a website where you can go there, click the song title in, and it'll straight up pull up the rap song and then the original sample, and it tell you where the sample is in the record. And I know that a lot of young producers are doing stuff like that, particularly with producers that they like. So they're going back and listening to Q-Tip's production in Midnight Marauders, and they're like, man, he's using a bunch of jazz stuff. And so then they go try to find the jazz riffs. So they can create a similar song. So I think it's happening, not as fast as I would like for it to, okay. But it's nowhere near as bad as it was when I was in college in the late 80s.
So things are getting better.
I think things are getting better because the knowledge is easier accessible.
Okay.
When I was in college, you would have to go to the library and go look up a book to find out, what this jazz artist was. Now, clicking a name, if you don't spell it right, Google's going to ask you, is this what you mean?
And the results come up.
And the results come up, and then you can click on that. So, the information is a lot more readily available. As a result of that, I like to think that younger people will have more access to this information, and that it's getting better. I know when listening to some of my son's music, he's 15, it doesn't work all the time, but in talking to a lot of college students, particularly those that produce music, I know that they're at least aware, way more aware than I was when I was a college student.
Okay. All right, well, that's actually all the questions I had, and thank you so much for having this discussion with me today.
Not a problem. I absolutely enjoyed it. Thank you.
Over and out.